Welcome to the dance floor, where life lessons are learned through the art of dance. I'm your host, Anna Harsh, and today I have an amazing guest with me. She is an author, a dancer, a podcaster, and so much more. Please welcome to the dance floor, Miss Rachel Vincinguerra. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you, Anna. This is so nice.
I'm so excited for you today. You have a brand new book out today.
I do, and it's my very first book that I've ever published. So it is an exciting day. It's my book's birthday.
So it's a perfect time to be on a dance floor and celebrate.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So we're going to play some party music out of this podcast so that we can kind of dance our way out. But Rachel, tell everyone what the title of your book is and what it's about.
Sure. So the book is called Spirit and Oppy, and it's about the Mars rovers' spirit and opportunity that took off back in 2003. So I grew up with these Mars rovers, and I remember being really excited about the Mars rover launch when I was a kid. And they ended up staying on Mars exploring for many years, longer than expected. So it was only a couple of years ago that they completed both of their missions. And the book tells the story of all of those years that they're on Mars.
Wow. So it's a little journey of them going to Mars. And it sounds like you've created them as like characters, like you've given them a personality so we can like really relate to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I related to them when I was a kid. They have sort of a Wall-E quality about them, almost like a pet or an animal. I think robots sort of have that similar connection, especially for young people. And I remember recently when the last rover Opportunity finished her mission, they talked about playing music to her across the universe as they said goodbye, as the scientists at NASA said goodbye. And that was just so emotional for me to read about and hear about. And it feels so much like the loss of a person or saying goodbye. Exactly. A friend, a family member, a pet, that I really do feel like they have this human quality. So I tried to bring that through in the book. And I think the illustrations by Samantha Gottwalt, my illustrator, really do a great job of that too.
That's exciting. So were Spirit and Oppy, were those the real names of them?
Yeah, so the rovers were called Spirit and Opportunity, and Oppy is actually a nickname that the NASA scientists had for Opportunity. I didn't make that up. They actually did have that nickname for her.
That's so sweet. I love that. I think everybody has a little fascination with the exploration of space and what's out there. I know every night I kind of look up at the moon and go, what do you see at night? And knowing that everybody around the world looks up at the moon and we're all seeing it at the same time sometimes, depending on where you live. But I just think that there's so much out there that we could learn from. Did you happen to learn anything through your journey of writing, like about Mars or these rovers that were there, like anything that's taught you?
Yes, a lot. So one thing that I learned that I included in the book that I thought was so interesting is that the rover's wheels often got stuck in the sand. And one of the ways that the scientists and the rover drivers here on Earth could get them unstuck was by driving them backwards. And I just thought that was such a life lesson for all of us, right? Yeah. Like if it's not working going forward, you're getting stuck, try a different angle. And another thing I learned that I didn't really include in the book, but I thought it was fascinating, is that pieces of the Mars rovers and their construction come from all over the world. So even though they were NASA projects, they really are, like you're talking about, space, I think, has a unifying quality.
Yes.
And pieces of the rovers and parts of their technology came from other countries. And there were people from all over the world who worked on this project. So I think it also has that unifying quality.
Yeah, a little piece of everybody is there with them. Mm-hmm. That's really unique. That's really a cool piece of information that kind of makes me go, now that we're all together, I want to watch them I don't know, explore again. Will there be other rovers later? Do you know?
Yes. So funny you should ask that. There's actually a rover named Perseverance that will be landing in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today on February 18th. And Perseverance is traveling for the first time with a little buddy, a little helicopter named Ingenuity that will fly around the rover and be able to take photographs of the rover and just give a whole nother level of understanding of Mars. And another interesting thing about Perseverance is that Spirit and Opportunity and many of the previous rovers used solar panels to be powered. And that ended up being the demise of many of the rovers because they would get covered by dust storms and
Yes.
then they couldn't charge. So this is the first rover, I believe, that is powered by nuclear energy instead, so that there won't have that issue with dust covering solar panels.
Rachel, now you make me want to follow this journey and learn more. I mean, and that's what it's about. I think I played for you. I recently have been playing around with creating music, and I played for you my song that I created about exploration of space. And I've always been fascinated by it, and I always watched launches and things like that growing up, just wondering what is out there and looking at stars and all of those kinds of things. But in the dance floor world, we talk about space in a different way, don't we? And when I teach choreography, I talk about carving the space around you. And when you were talking about those wheels being stuck and they have to basically rewind, it kind of makes me think about how people reflect on their past or history to know learned lessons, and then, like you say, go a different way and try something new. So when we choreograph, we talk about carving the space around you. Maybe space is just thought about in a different way for dance, but I think it might apply to your book as well, carving that space around them, and what did they learn, and what information that they captured and bring back to, NASA.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the piece about choreography, like it is choreography for the rover drivers too, to move them and figure out how they are going to take up space and how they're going to navigate the terrain and be in proximity to each other in the sun. They had to think about making sure that they were angled correctly on the hills so that the sun would hit the panel. So there's all sorts of, I think, connections to what we think about when we're doing
Dancing.
choreography and when we're
Yeah.
dancing.
Yeah, we do have to look at our terrain, don't we? We've danced on different stages. Rachel has been an Allegro dancer as well and has traveled and toured with us. So she knows that, we've danced on several kinds of stages, and we do have to look at our terrain and make those decisions before we take those steps, for sure. It sounds like maybe you have a second book that you could do with the second rovers coming.
Yes, that's definitely something I'm thinking about, and I'll be following them.
How
And
exciting.
I do have another book in the works for May or June to come out, but it's not about the rovers. It's about a different topic.
I'm so excited for you, Rachel. That's super cool. I know that here on the dance floor, we talk about life lessons that we learn through our art forms, especially dance. Is there anything that you maybe have learned through? I know you've danced a long time yourself. Any life lessons maybe you've learned through dancing?
Yeah, so I would say this is something I learned writing this book, going through this creative process, but also in dance. And when I reflect on my time with Allegro, is the importance of putting yourself out there and speaking your dreams and speaking the things that you would like to do creatively to other people. Because I found with the book, I was scared to say I'm writing a book because it didn't feel like a real thing at first. And there's a little bit of feeling like an imposter or something. But when I did, people all around me stepped up and said, "Oh, I know a great illustrator." People were willing to edit and read versions. And the same thing with Allegro and with my experience in dance. I mean, I came up to you after a performance just because I was interested and moved and asked what I could do. And, I think when you speak these things aloud, when you speak your creative
Yeah.
intentions to other people, you end up having all these opportunities to collaborate and make new creative things together.
Absolutely. And it is terrifying to start maybe working on your dream or an exciting project. It really is. It's nerve-wracking, and you're like, I know what you're saying about being an imposter. When I first started Allegro, I thought, oh, I don't have the right costumes. We don't have all the appropriate dances yet. But you have to take that first step, and you have to start somewhere to get started. And then as I grew Allegro, we collected more and more dances, and it became more authentic. And we've traveled to Italy, and now we have networking with teachers there that really help me shape and mold the company and be the best we can be here to preserve these dances. So I relate to that second rover, maybe that perseverance. That's kind of cool. And I think that you were talking about that something was flying above it.
Yeah, there's a little helicopter named Ingenuity that's traveling with it.
To me, that sounds like a little angel, maybe just helping it along, and I think we need those people in our lives. And like you said, just reaching out to others and saying, this is what I really want to do, or this is my next cool project that I want to work on, and I'm going to need your help. And I think that's okay to ask for help.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't think of anything I have done that hasn't been made better
Yeah,
by other people's
absolutely.
contributions.
Yeah, I couldn't do any of the company stuff alone, for sure. There has been thousands of hands in that circle when we dance to help me to do all of those things, whether it's backstage, on stage, before we even get to the stage. Gosh, yeah, there's lots of people.
And you do, I think, have to be discerning. Like, not all of the feedback and the contributions you get are ultimately things that you take in
Right.
or you use in your project. Like, there are always naysayers and haters,
Sure.
and so sometimes I think you have to be discerning about knowing when
Yeah, and I think
the
as
input.
dancers, yeah, as dancers, I think we do that. Like we understand criticism, we understand feedback, and when it's good and helpful, and really somebody's really trying to push you forward, and
Hmm.
when it's just like you said, naysayers and maybe just a little jealousy, and they're not really helping you move forward. And so you have to make those decisions. Like this is really good information and good advice, and this is just feedback that I need to put in the trash, you know.
Hmm.
And that's hard at first when you're first starting out. That's really challenging. So that's good advice for all of those out there that are, wanting to start something new that you've maybe never done before or want to start a new project. It's kind of hard to get started, but just take one baby step, and ask for help. And I think that's really good advice.
Yeah, and surround yourself with good people. I know that's something that you have thought about really a lot when you
A
put together
lot.
the company for Allegro, but it applies to dance into lots of areas of life, just surrounding yourself with supportive and
Yeah, helpful
people who,
people.
yes.
Because you want people to push you in the right direction. You want them to challenge you, but you don't want them to discourage you to take 3 steps back. You always want to move forward, hopefully, and not be stuck like that rover and
Right.
have to spin your wheels all the time. But yeah, you do want to surround yourself with helpful people. Okay, Rachel, let's take a little quick commercial break. And maybe when we come back, you can tell the audience also about your podcast and some cool things that you might be talking about soon in your next, I think, in your upcoming season, right? So let's take a little quick break and we'll be right back with Rachel. Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Rachel Vincinguerra, who has a brand new book out, and she's so many things. She's a dancer, she's a podcaster, an author now. Rachel, I know you have a podcast out. Tell everybody the name of your podcast and what it's all about.
My podcast is called Paradoxia, and the first season in 2020, I recorded most of it, all of it, I think, during quarantine. And it really focused on dichotomy and holding tension, holding on to two things that seem contradictory that are both true, because I think we often have trouble with that as humans. So I wanted to explore conversations with folks about that topic through different lenses. So that was season 1. And we're about to launch season 2, which has a slightly different angle. And this season is about integrating a whole. And in this season, I talked to multi-passionate people who've brought together various different interests and areas of their lives into something that feels integrated and true to who they are. And you're one of my first guests on the second episode of the new season.
I know we had such a great conversation. So definitely tune in to Rachel's podcast. And that comes out, our conversation comes out February 16th.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So tune into that. So wherever you are hearing your podcast, tune into Rachel's podcast there so that you can hear our conversation. And we got kind of deep, Rachel. We got kind of deep with our conversations.
I like to do that.
I do too. Rachel, what's next on your list? I know you'll be, promoting your book and that sort of thing. And you have another one that you're going to be working on right now?
Yes. So I'm working on another children's book called Mary Canary and the Worried Feeling. And it's a lot about a little canary bird that is anxious and worried about everything. And her friends don't really understand why she's so worried all the time. But it might just be her sensitivity that saves everyone.
Wow, that sounds so cute. Is that going to be a children's book or is that an adult book?
That is a children's book.
But it sounds like it could apply to adults right now.
Absolutely.
I always ask dancers throughout my different seasons, what's in your dance bag that you cannot leave the house without? Like what goes in there that's like, no way, this has to go in my dance bag. I can't leave without it.
So you might laugh. My answer is a first aid kit.
No, that's great.
You need to have a first aid kit on you at all times, especially when you're dancing, but also just out in the world. Like you never know what can happen. And I have been in situations where I've like split a knee open and I'm the only one who has a first aid kit. So that's what I would say.
Well, in my dance bag, I have everything from hard candy to a first aid kit to icy hot to, a knee wrap or bobby pins. I mean, the works. It's like a Walgreens in my dance bag. But yeah. I have learned over the years that you need those basic little things, especially as a director. Like not everybody brings what they probably should or needs an extra pair of. I even had socks. Come on. I brought socks, Rachel.
I bet you used them too. I bet someone needed them.
I have. Yes. Usually the gentlemen in our company sometimes forget to bring dance socks or, a certain color of socks. So I've tended to pass out lots of socks throughout the 27 years of Allegro. But we dancers, we try to pack everything that we need, but there's always that one thing that we walked out the house without it. And I know one time I walked out of the house without my entire bag of dance shoes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And I went on stage. Thankfully, it was a nice stage. And they swept the stage because I went on stage and did the whole show barefoot.
Oh, my God.
Just do what you got to do, girl.
You do. You do. The thing I always forget that's the most useful thing is safety pins. I never have safety pins on me, but they're so handy.
They are handy. They've gotten me out of a few jams. Rachel, you're a delight. And I loved having you on the dance floor. What is the one thing maybe you can tell our listeners how we can keep ourselves busy during this quarantine? What's something that we can help ourselves out? I know it's challenging to be at home.
Absolutely. So I heard a great episode of Life Kit the other day that had Maggie Smith, who's a poet I really like. And she gave advice that I've been trying to follow myself, which is do one thing every day that feeds your soul and makes you feel like yourself. So whether that's writing, you love to write, whether that's meditation or yoga or dance, do, even if it's for 10 minutes, do something every day that makes you feel like yourself.
Yeah, I usually put on music when I first get up that kind of gets me started. And somebody in my past told me to create, this might sound funny, but create a theme for your day. And sometimes I create a whole playlist according to that theme. And I'll play different songs throughout the day to keep me motivated to move forward, and it sometimes during quarantine that became kind of fun. Like, what would my theme be tomorrow? And keep thinking about that. Like, what will I listen to tomorrow? Or maybe a whole album of a certain artist or a singer that you love. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has feed my soul. Miss Rachel, you are a dreamboat and you're so talented with so many different things that you're doing with your life. And I'm so proud of you. And I can't wait to see more activities, events, products that you're going to be posting out there. So how can people get in touch with you if they just want to know more about you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Rachel Vincinguerra. So you can maybe look in the show notes for the spelling of that. And that's a good way to get in touch with me. You can DM me there. I have a website, rachelvincinguerra.com. Yeah, those are a couple good ways to get in touch with me.
That's awesome. And don't forget to purchase Rachel's book. How can we purchase your book? Amazon?
Yes, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on my website. You can buy it from your local independent bookstore. So if you have a favorite local bookstore, you can make a request and they'll have access to it in their catalog. So anywhere you get your books.
Rachel, congratulations on your first book. How exciting today. I know it's its birthday. And so happy birthday for your book.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait to see what other amazing things in the future that you endeavor and discover about yourself and that you get into. I'm so excited for you. Congrats. All right, everyone. That's it for the dance floor today with Miss Rachel and I. Thanks so much for joining us today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Anna Harsh. And until next time, keep dancing and moving on the dance floor.